My daughter went missing from school after recess, and when I finally found her, the staff claimed she must have known the man because she didn't scream. When I asked the teacher how he even got that close to her without someone intervening, she whispered, "The school didn't want a scandal." That was 9 days ago, and yesterday, the district superintendent quietly resigned without a word. Before I gained complete custody of my 7-year-old daughter, Bella, her life had been quite distressing. Her mother had persuaded the court that I was an unfit parent, citing a public intoxication charge for my college years. However, while Bella resided with my former spouse, her stepfather consistently subjected her to physical abuse. I was aware of this because whenever I managed to discreetly see her, visiting her at school during lunch breaks, or appearing at her after-school activities, she always bore fresh bruises or cuts on her small frame. The moment I was granted full custody, I made an internal vow to shield her at all costs. A few months later, we found ourselves at the local food court. I was quietly sipping my chilled coffee, observing Bella as she colored her children's menu. It was a rare moment of parental tranquility when everything felt entirely in order. Suddenly, Bella looked up and began enthusiastically waving at someone beyond our seating area. My gaze followed hers, and I spotted a man with an unsettling, vacant stare, entirely bald and quite eerie. As I focused more intently, I noticed his arm moving erratically beneath the table. I strained to get a better view and observed that his belt was unfastened, with his trousers partially lowered. A shiver ran down my spine. Bella was so young that I didn't want to shatter her innocence by revealing what was happening, but I understood the vile reason that creature was fixated on her. Instantly, I shifted to sit beside her. "Hey Bella, perhaps you should concentrate on your coloring," I instructed, my voice firm and authoritative. Fortunately, she redirected her attention. Just then, the manager passed our table. "Excuse me, do you see that gentleman over there?" I subtly gestured toward his table. "Have you observed anything unusual?" My eyes completed the unspoken query. When the manager approached him, both of the older man's hands became visible. I noticed a hospital bracelet encircling his wrist, and his eyes conveyed genuine bewilderment. My brows furrowed. I honestly couldn't comprehend the situation. As the manager spoke, his hands began to tremble. Could it be Parkinson's? My cheeks flushed with mortification for causing a scene. But just as I prepared to avert my gaze and dismiss the incident, the manager bellowed, "Hand over your phone immediately." He was a tall, muscular man, about 6 feet 5 inches, so his words were quite intimidating. The older man offered a tight smile, as if recognizing he had no escape. The moment his unlocked phone was placed on the table, I saw it. He was in the Photos application, and there were dozens of images of Bella, shots from under the table, close-ups of her face, everything. And even though every fiber of my being yearned to violently subdue him, I did nothing. Because if I truly wanted to keep Bella safe, my immediate priority was to protect her from this ordeal. "Daddy, what's happening with my waving friend?" she inquired with such innocence that it practically broke my heart. In a flash of quick thinking, I told her to use the restroom, stating that we would be leaving shortly. The coldness in my tone saddened her, but I didn't care, as it ensured her compliance. I approached the man and took his phone to confirm what I had seen. Every part of me recoiled. His camera roll contained labeled folders filled with pictures of various children. Brunette one from playground, ginger one from the beach, blonde one that hit puberty early. There weren't just 3 or 4, there were dozens. I swear my fingers scrolled for a full minute before I reached the end of his depraved collection. At that point, Bella returned. I escorted her to the mall's supervised play area and informed her I'd be back soon. It was one of those rare moments where her feelings were secondary to me, as her safety was paramount. So, even as tears streamed down her face because she believed she had done something wrong, I frankly wasn't concerned. I returned to the food court, anticipating to see the old man being confronted by the other men who had witnessed the scene. Instead, they were embracing him. One was even patting his back. "Don't worry, we understand," he reassured. I genuinely wished I had an assault rifle in my hands. "What on earth are you thinking? This man just preyed on my daughter." "Whoa, calm down, brother," the manager interjected. "We just spoke with the old man's son and found out he's a former veteran. His mind is affected. He can't help himself." He uttered it as if it were the most logical, justifiable explanation conceivable. I glanced at the old man, who had a faint smirk on his face. My father was a veteran. My grandfather was a veteran. Neither of them struggled to refrain from being a monstrous individual. Every bone in my body screamed at me to pick him up and crush him like an insect. But I didn't. Instead, I simply smiled. "Oh, my apologies," I exclaimed sweetly. And that perverse old man believed it. He genuinely thought I had fallen for his little veteran story. But no, I was playing the long game. And by the time I was finished with him, He'd wish he had perished in whatever conflict he came from. I rejoined Bella at the play area and took her home. That night, after she was asleep, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the wall. Those images wouldn't leave my mind. The photographs, the smirk on the old man's face, the way everyone simply let him go. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, something I rarely did since gaining custody, and tried to calm my racing thoughts. The amber liquid burned my throat, but did nothing to diminish the revulsion and fury I felt. I kept envisioning Bella's innocent face as she waved to that monster. I kept thinking about all those other children in his folders. The following morning, I contacted the mall's corporate office. I recounted what had occurred and requested security footage. They stated they would investigate but couldn't directly share footage with me due to privacy policies. I also filed a police report, but the officer seemed largely uninterested. He noted the information and said they would look into it. I wasn't satisfied. I needed to know who this man was and ensure he couldn't harm any more children. So I began returning to the mall at various times, hoping to spot him again. After 3 days of nothing, I finally saw him sitting at the same food court table, observing children playing nearby. This time, I was prepared. I took a seat at a table where he couldn't see me and pulled out my phone. I began recording him from a distance. Sure enough, within minutes, his hand disappeared under the table. I felt sick but continued recording. Evidence, that's what I needed. I waited for about 10 minutes, documenting everything. The way he stared at children, the way his arm moved rhythmically under the table, the way he would occasionally glance around to ensure no one was watching him. It was all so deliberate and repulsive. When I had sufficient footage, I approached him directly. "Remember me?" I inquired, sliding into the seat opposite him. His eyes widened with recognition, and his hand quickly emerged from under the table. "I don't believe we've met," he stammered, his voice trembling slightly. "Cut the nonsense. I know what you were doing with my daughter the other day," I stated. "And I know what you're doing right now." I kept my voice low and controlled, though I longed to scream. He began with the same pretense. "I have a medical condition. My nephew can explain." "Spare me," I interrupted. "I've been recording you for the past 10 minutes. I held up my phone so he could see. I'm taking this to the police. The actual police, not mall security." The smirk vanished from his face. "You don't understand. I'm sick. I need help, not punishment." I leaned in closer. "You know what? I actually agree with you. You are sick, and you do need help. But that doesn't mean you get to wander around taking pictures of children while you satisfy yourself." He glanced around nervously. "Please don't make a scene. I can explain everything." "I'm not making a scene," I said calmly. "I'm just letting you know that I'm watching you, and I'm not the only one who's going to be watching you from now on." I stood up and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't certain if I had done the correct thing by confronting him, but at least he knew someone was aware of him. Perhaps that would be enough to deter him. I took the video straight to the police station. The officer at the desk seemed more engaged this time, especially when I mentioned I had video evidence. He summoned Detective Sarah Rodriguez, who specialized in crimes against children. Detective Rodriguez led me to a small interview room and carefully watched the video. "This is certainly concerning," she remarked, "but unfortunately, it's not clear enough to make an arrest. We can't actually see what he's doing under the table." "But what about the photos on his phone?" I asked. "The manager saw them too." "Did you or the manager take any photos of what was on his phone?" she inquired. I shook my head. "No, it all happened so quickly." She sighed. "That complicates matters. We can investigate him, but without clear evidence of a crime, there's only so much we can do." I felt deflated. "So he just gets to keep doing this?" "I didn't say that," Detective Rodriguez replied. "Give me his description and any information you have. We'll look into his background, see if he has any prior offenses, and I'll send some plainclothes officers to monitor them all." I provided everything I knew, which wasn't much, just his appearance and the locations where I'd seen him. It didn't feel like enough. "In the meantime," she added, "be careful about confronting him directly. Individuals like this can be unpredictable when cornered." I nodded, but inside, I was fuming. The system was failing these children. It was failing my Bella. Over the next week, I continued taking Bella to various places for our weekend outings. I was apprehensive about encountering the old man again, constantly scanning crowds for his bald head. Bella noticed my distraction. "Daddy, why do you keep looking around?" she asked during a trip to the park. "Just making sure you're safe, sweetheart," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "From the bad man at the mall?" she inquired innocently. I froze. "What do you mean, Bella? I heard you talking to the big man at the mall. You said the bald man was taking pictures of me. That's not good, right?" Children hear everything. I should have known better than to think she hadn't picked up on what was happening. I sat her down on a bench and attempted to explain in a way that wouldn't frighten her. "Yes, that's not good. Some people take pictures of children without asking, and that's not okay. If you ever see someone doing that, or if anyone ever makes you feel uneasy, you tell me right away, okay? She nodded solemnly. Is that why you've been sad and cross? I'm not sad or cross with you, Bella. I'm just concerned about keeping you safe. You don't have to worry, Daddy. I'm super strong. She flexed her small arms, and I couldn't help but smile. Yes, you are, but it's still my job to protect you. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the other children in that pervert's photo collection. What if he was still out there taking pictures? What if he escalated to something worse? The police weren't acting quickly enough. The next day, I dropped Bella off at school and decided to do some investigating on my own. I returned to the mall and spoke with some of the regular vendors. A barista at the coffee shop recalled the old man. Oh yes, that fellow. He comes in almost every day around 11 o'clock. Always orders the same thing, a small black coffee. Never tips. She wrinkled her nose. Honestly, he kind of gives me the creeps. Has he ever mentioned his name or where he lives? I asked. No, but he pays with a credit card sometimes. I could probably check the name next time he comes in. She offered, seemingly comprehending my concern. I thanked her and gave her my number, asking her to text me if she saw him again. I did the same with a few other vendors. By the end of the day, I had several people on the lookout. 2 days later, I received a text while at work. Creepy guy is here. Credit card says William Thompson. A name, finally. I thanked the barista and immediately began searching online. There were several William Thompsons in our area, but I narrowed it down by age and appearance. Using social media and public records, I found him on Facebook. Hardly any posts or friends, but his profile picture matched. According to his profile, he was a retired elementary school janitor. The thought of him working around teenagers for years made my skin crawl. His profile listed his neighborhood, not his precise address, but it was a start. I considered driving there after work, but Detective Rodriguez's warning about confronting him directly made me hesitate. Instead, I called her with the new information. She seemed impressed. Good work. We'll look into him. And yes, we can check if there were any complaints filed during his time at the school. I felt a small sense of accomplishment, but it wasn't enough. I wanted this man stopped before he could harm any more children. The next day was Saturday, and I had promised Bella we'd visit the community pool. It was her favorite weekend activity, especially now that she was improving her swimming skills. I was apprehensive about taking her to a public place where children would be in swimwear, but I didn't want to disappoint her. We arrived early to avoid the crowds. Bella was excited, chattering about demonstrating her new swimming abilities. I helped her put on her floaties and watched her splash around in the shallow end for a while. Everything seemed normal. Then I saw him, William Thompson, sitting on a bench near the pool, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. He held a newspaper, but he wasn't reading it. He was observing the children in the pool. My blood ran cold when I realized he was looking directly at Bella. I immediately entered the pool and stayed close to her, positioning myself between her and Thompson's line of sight. I discreetly pulled out my phone and called Detective Rodriguez. He's at the community pool right now, I whispered. Watching the kids. My daughter is here. Stay calm, she replied. I'm sending officers. Don't approach him. Just keep your daughter close. I hung up and tried to act normal for Bella's sake. Hey, sweetie, let's practice your swimming in the other direction, I suggested, guiding her away from where Thompson could clearly see her. But I like this part better, she protested. Just for a little while, I insisted. Then we can come back. I kept glancing at Thompson. He seemed to realize I had spotted him because he suddenly became very engrossed in his newspaper, but he didn't leave. It took 20 agonizing minutes for the police to arrive. 2 plainclothes officers entered the pool area casually, then approached Thompson. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw them ask for his identification. They conversed for a few minutes. Then, to my astonishment, they simply left him there with a warning. I was furious. I got Bella out of the pool, dried her off quickly, and told her we needed to leave. But we just got here, she complained. I know, sweetie, I'm sorry. We'll come back another day. I rushed her to the changing rooms, helped her get dressed, and hurried to the exit. As we were leaving, one of the officers stopped me. Sir, we spoke with Mr. Thompson. He says he's just enjoying the day at the pool. We can't arrest someone for sitting on a bench. Did you check his phone? I demanded. Did you look for photos? We asked to see his phone, but without a warrant, we can't force him to show us. He refused, which is his right. I was seething. So you're just going to let him sit there and, Daddy, who are you talking to? Bella interrupted, tugging at my hand. The officer gave me a sympathetic look. We're keeping an eye on him, sir. That's all we can do right now. I took Bella home, my mind racing. The system was failing. The police couldn't or wouldn't do what was necessary to protect these children. I was starting to realize that if I wanted Thompson stopped, I might have to take matters into my own hands. That night, after Bella was asleep, I drove back to Thompson's neighborhood. I felt like a stalker myself, cruising slowly down streets, searching for any sign of him. Eventually, I spotted his car, an old blue Buick, parked in front of a small, dilapidated house at the end of a cul-de-sac. I parked a block away and just sat there, observing his house. The lights were on inside. What was he doing in there? Looking at his collection of photos? Planning his next outing? The thought made me sick. I considered breaking in and stealing his phone or computer, anything that would contain evidence. But that would be illegal, and if I got caught, I could lose custody of Bella. I couldn't risk that. After about an hour of sitting there, feeling increasingly like a prowler myself, I drove home. I needed a better strategy. The next day, I called in sick to work and went to the elementary school where Thompson had been employed. I informed the secretary I was considering enrolling my daughter and wished to speak with some long-term staff members about the school's history. I was introduced to Linda Martinez, a math teacher who had been there for over 3 decades. After some casual conversation about the school, I casually mentioned I thought I recognized a former staff member. William Thompson, wasn't he a janitor here? Linda's friendly demeanor instantly shifted. Yes, he was. He retired about 5 years ago. Did you know him well? I pressed. She hesitated. Not really. He kept to himself mostly. I could tell she was holding something back. I'm actually not looking to enroll my daughter, I admitted. I'm concerned about Thompson. I've seen him taking inappropriate photos of children at the mall and the community pool, my daughter included. Linda's face paled. I knew it, she whispered. We all suspected, but there was never any proof. Suspected what? She looked around to ensure no one was listening. There were rumors. Girls complained about him watching them in the locker room areas. One student said she caught him taking pictures through a vent. But when the administration investigated, they couldn't find any evidence. The school didn't want a scandal, so they just made sure he wasn't assigned to clean near the girls' facilities anymore. My hands clenched into fists. And they let him keep working here, around teenagers? It was never proven, she said defensively. And he was close to retirement anyway. I thanked her for the information and left, even more determined to stop Thompson. The school had failed those girls. The police were failing the children at the mall and pool. I wasn't going to fail Bella. I spent the next few days formulating a scheme. I needed evidence that the police couldn't ignore. I decided to set a trap. The following Saturday, I asked my neighbor Jennifer to watch Bella for a few hours. Jennifer was a retired kindergarten teacher who adored Bella, and I trusted her completely. I went to the mall and positioned myself at a table where I could see Thompson's usual spot. Sure enough, around 11 a.m., he appeared with his small black coffee. He sat down and began his routine, pretending to read while actually observing children in the play area. I had brought a better camera this time, with a zoom lens. I started taking photos of him taking photos. I made sure to capture clear shots of his hand under the table, his phone occasionally coming into view, and the direction of his gaze toward the children. After about an hour, he got up and headed toward the restroom. This was my opportunity. I followed him, waiting outside until he entered. The restroom was empty except for him. I entered and stood by the sink, pretending to wash my hands while watching him in the mirror. He went into a stall, but didn't close the door completely. I could see him through the crack, taking out his phone and scrolling through the photos he had just captured. His face bore that same sick smile I'd seen before. I quickly pulled out my phone and began recording video through the crack in the door. I captured clear footage of him looking at photos of children, zooming in on certain parts, his hand moving in his lap. It was disgusting, but it was the evidence I needed. Just as I was about to stop recording, the bathroom door opened. Another man walked in. Thompson quickly put his phone away and emerged from the stall. He saw me standing there and froze, recognition dawning on his face. You, he said, his voice a mixture of fear and anger. Me? I replied calmly, putting my phone in my pocket. Enjoying your photos, William? His eyes widened at the use of his name. You've been following me? Just like you've been following children, I retorted. The other man in the bathroom looked confused but quickly finished his business and left, sensing the tension. You don't understand, Thompson pleaded, his voice adopting that same supplicating tone he'd used before. I have urges. I can't help it. Save it for the police, I said. I have everything I need now. His expression then shifted from pathetic to menacing. No one will believe you. I'm just an old man with a medical condition, and if you keep harassing me, I'll file a restraining order, maybe even sue you for defamation. I laughed. Go ahead. I'd love to see you try to explain your medical condition to a judge while they review the evidence on your phone. You think you're so clever, he snarled. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I've been doing this for decades. No one has ever caught me, and no one ever will. The admission sent chills down my spine. How many children had this monster victimized over the years? That ends today, I said firmly. He took a step toward me, his face contorted with rage. I know where you live, he hissed. I know where your daughter goes to school. Back off, or you'll regret it. My blood ran cold. Had he been following us? The thought of him watching Bella, knowing her routines, was unbearable. But I couldn't show fear. That sounds like a threat, William. Want to say it again while I record it? He backed off slightly. This isn't over, he muttered, pushing past me to leave the bathroom. I waited a few minutes, then left as well. Thompson was nowhere to be seen. I immediately called Detective Rodriguez and told her what had transpired, including Thompson's threat. Come to the station right now, she said, her voice urgent. Bring all the evidence you have. I drove straight there, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. Had I put Bella in more danger by confronting Thompson? What if he really did know where we lived? At the station, I showed Detective Rodriguez everything. The photos I'd taken of Thompson observing children, the video of him looking at pictures in the bathroom stall, and I played the audio of his threat. This is good, she said, really good. The admission that he's been doing this for decades is particularly damning, and threatening a child is something we take very seriously. So you'll arrest him now? I asked hopefully. We'll bring him in for questioning and get a warrant to search his devices. But I need you to promise me something. What? No more amateur detective work. You've done great, but you've also put yourself and possibly your daughter at risk. Let us handle it from here. I agreed, though reluctantly. I wanted to be there when they arrested him, to see the look on his face when he realized he was finally caught. When I got home, Bella was happily playing board games with Jennifer. She was safe for now, but Thompson's threat lingered in my mind. I decided we wouldn't be staying at our house that night. I packed overnight bags for both of us and told Bella we were having a special sleepover at a hotel with a pool. She was thrilled with the idea, completely unaware of the true reason. At the hotel, I kept the curtains closed and placed a chair against the door. I barely slept that night, jumping at every sound in the hallway. The next morning, I called Detective Rodriguez for an update. We brought Thompson in last night, she said. Based on your evidence and his prior employment record, we got a warrant to search his home and devices. And I pressed. It's worse than we thought. His computer had thousands of images and videos. Some of the content. She paused. Let's just say it's enough to put him away for a very long time. Relief washed over me. So he's in custody? Yes, he's being charged with multiple counts of possession of child pornography, voyeurism, and making criminal threats. Given the amount of evidence, he's not getting out anytime soon. I thanked her and hung up, feeling like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Thompson was behind bars. Bella was safe. But something still troubled me. Later that day, after checking out of the hotel, I drove past Thompson's house. There was police tape across the door, and a forensics van was parked outside. As I watched, officers carried out boxes of evidence and computer equipment. A neighbor was standing on her porch, observing the scene. I pulled over and approached her. Excuse me, do you know what's happening? I asked, pretending to be just a curious passerby. They arrested Bill last night, she said. Police won't say why, but they've been in and out of his house all day. Did you know him well? Not really. He kept to himself, moved here about 5 years ago after retiring. She leaned in closer. Between you and me, there was always something off about him. The way he'd watch the neighborhood kids playing. I never let my grandchildren visit when he was around. Did he have any family visitors? No family that I ever saw. But he did have friends over sometimes, older men like him. They'd meet in his garage with the door closed. I always thought that was strange. A chill ran down my spine. Friends? Other men like him? What if Thompson wasn't acting alone? What if there was a whole network of these predators sharing photos and information? I thanked the woman and left, my mind racing. I called Detective Rodriguez again and told her what the neighbor had said. We're already looking into his associates, she assured me. His computer had evidence of communication with others. We're tracking them down now. What about the children in his photos? Are you identifying them, making sure they're safe? That's part of the process, yes. It's going to take time, but we're doing everything we can. I hung up, not entirely satisfied. At least the system was working now, but only because I had compelled it to. How many other predators were out there operating unchecked because no one was paying attention? The next few weeks were tense. I installed a security system at our house. I altered our routines, taking different routes to school and work. I even considered relocating to a new neighborhood, but decided against it for now. I didn't want to uproot Bella unless absolutely necessary. Thompson remained in custody, denied bail due to the severity of the charges and the perceived flight risk. Detective Rodriguez kept me updated on the case. They had identified several other men from Thompson's communications and were building cases against them as well. One evening, about a month after Thompson's arrest, I received a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something compelled me to. Hello, I said cautiously. Is this the father of Bella? A woman's voice inquired. My guard immediately went up. Who is this? My name is Karen. My son. He was one of the children in that man's photos. The police showed me some of the less explicit ones to help identify victims. I sat down heavily. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I'm calling to thank you. The detective told me you were the one who caught him. Who knows how long he would have continued if you hadn't stepped up? Her words hit me hard. In my focus on protecting Bella, I hadn't fully processed the impact on other families. I just did what any parent would do, I said. No, Karen replied firmly. Most people would have reported it once and moved on. You didn't give up. Because of you, my son and dozens of other children are safer now. After we hung up, I went to check on Bella. She was sleeping peacefully, clutching her favorite stuffed animal. I gently brushed the hair from her forehead and kissed her goodnight. The nightmare wasn't completely over. Thompson's case would take months to go through the courts. There would be hearings and possibly a trial where I might have to testify. The other men in his network were still being investigated. But for now, at least, the immediate threat was gone. As I watched my daughter sleep, I renewed my promise to protect her at all costs. The world could be a dark and dangerous place, but I would always stand between her and that darkness. Always. Escalating threats the next morning, I awoke feeling more determined than ever. The call from Karen had really resonated with me. This wasn't just about Bella anymore. It was about all those children whose parents might not even know they were being targeted. I made breakfast while Bella got ready for school, trying to act normal despite everything churning in my head. Daddy, can we go to the park after school today? She asked, munching on her cereal. Sure thing, kiddo, but we might try a different park today, okay? I was still apprehensive about our regular spots, worried about Thompson's associates who might be watching us. I dropped Bella off at school and headed to work, but I couldn't concentrate. My mind kept drifting to what the neighbor had mentioned about Thompson having visitors. I called Detective Rodriguez during my lunch break. Any updates on Thompson's associates? I asked as soon as she answered. We've identified 3 men so far, she said. We're building cases against them, but these things take time. Do you have their names, addresses? I pressed. There was a pause on the line. You know I can't share that information with you. We talked about this. No more amateur detective work. I'm just worried. What if they know about me, about Bella? We have no evidence suggesting they're targeting you specifically, she reassured me. But if you notice anything suspicious, call me immediately. After work, I picked up Bella and took her to a park across town. I sat on a bench where I could see the entire playground, scanning every adult who came near. Bella was having a blast on the swings, completely oblivious to my paranoia. Then I noticed a man sitting in a car across the street. He had been there since we arrived, just sitting there, watching the park. My heart rate spiked. I casually got up and walked to a different bench, one that gave me a better view of the car. The man was middle-aged, wearing sunglasses despite the cloudy day. He seemed to be taking photos with a long-lens camera. I immediately called Bella over. Time to go, sweetie. But we just got here, she protested. I know, but I just remembered we need to pick up groceries before the store closes. It was a flimsy excuse, but it worked. I held Bella's hand tightly as we walked to our car, positioning myself between her and the suspicious vehicle. As we drove away, I noticed the car pulling out behind us. My palms were sweating on the steering wheel. Was he following us? I made a series of random turns, and sure enough, the car stayed behind us. I called Detective Rodriguez while driving. There's a man following us in a gray sedan. I think he was taking pictures at the park. Where are you now? She asked, her voice instantly alert. I told her our location, and she promised to send a patrol car. I kept driving, making random turns through residential neighborhoods, trying to lose our tail without frightening Bella. Why are we going in circles, Daddy? She asked from the back seat. Just taking the scenic route, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Finally, I spotted a police cruiser ahead. I pulled over next to it and explained the situation to the officers. They immediately set off to look for the gray sedan, but it was gone. Probably realized we were on to him, one officer said. We'll keep an eye out, but you should go home and lock your doors. That night, I could barely sleep. Every noise outside had me jumping up to check the windows. I kept thinking about that car, about Thompson's threats, about his network of associates. The next morning, I called in sick to work again and kept Bella home from school. Are we having a special day? She asked excitedly. Something like that, I said, forcing a smile. How about we watch movies and make cookies? She was thrilled with the idea, but I couldn't enjoy it. I kept checking the windows, jumping at every sound. Around noon, my phone rang. Detective Rodriguez. We need you to come down to the station, she said. There's been a development. What kind of development? I asked, my stomach dropping. I'd rather discuss it in person. Can you come in this afternoon? I called Jennifer to watch Bella again and headed to the police station, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. When I arrived, Detective Rodriguez led me to a small conference room where another detective was waiting. This is Detective Thomas Chun, she introduced us. He's been working on identifying Thompson's associates. Detective Chen nodded at me. We've made some progress. Based on the evidence from Thompson's computer, we've identified several men who were sharing content with him. One of them was at the park yesterday, Rodriguez continued. The man in the gray sedan. His name is Richard Barker. My blood ran cold. So he was following us. He knows who I am. It appears so, Chen said grimly. We found communications between Thompson and Barker discussing you. Thompson told him you were the one who got him arrested. So what now? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Is Barker in custody? Not yet, Rodriguez admitted. We're building a case against him, but we don't have enough for an arrest warrant yet. So he's just out there, free to follow me and my daughter? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We're putting a patrol car near your house, she assured me, and we're expediting the warrant process. But in the meantime, you need to be extra cautious. I left the station feeling worse than when I arrived. The police were trying, but the system was still moving too slowly. These men were organized, sharing information, and now they knew exactly who I was. When I got home, Jennifer was helping Bella with an art project. They had paper and glitter all over the kitchen table. Everything okay? Jennifer asked, clearly noticing my expression. Just work stuff? I lied. Thanks for watching her. After Jennifer left, I double-checked all the locks and windows. I even pushed a bookshelf in front of the back door, probably overkill, but it made me feel better. That night, after Bella was asleep, I sat in the living room with all the lights off, just watching the street through a crack in the curtains. Around midnight, I noticed a car driving slowly past our house. It was too dark to see if it was the same gray sedan, but it circled the block 3 times before parking down the street. I called the police immediately. They sent a patrol car, but by the time it arrived, the suspicious vehicle was gone. The officers took a report and promised to keep an eye on the house, but I could tell they were skeptical. The next few days were a blur of anxiety. I took Bella to school and picked her up myself, checking constantly for anyone following us. I installed a doorbell camera and motion sensor lights around the house. I even bought a baseball bat that I kept by my bed, just in case. Detective Rodriguez called with updates every day, but progress was frustratingly slow. They had identified more of Thompson's associates, but were still gathering evidence for arrests. Meanwhile, I kept seeing the same gray sedan in different places. Near Bella's school, in the grocery store parking lot, driving past our house. Each time I reported it, but the car was always gone by the time police arrived. I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind. Was I just being paranoid? Was I seeing threats that weren't really there? Then one afternoon, I received a call from Bella's school. She hadn't returned to class after recess. My heart nearly stopped. I raced to the school, running every red light on the way. The principal met me at the front office, her face grave. We've searched the entire school. She's not here. We've already called the police. I couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. Not Bella, not my little girl. Did anyone see anything? I managed to ask. One of the playground monitors saw her talking to a man by the fence. The principal said. She thought it was a relative because Bella seemed to know him. My mind immediately went to Richard Barker. Had he been watching us long enough to make Bella think she knew him? Had he pretended to be a friend of mine? The police arrived and immediately launched a search. They took a description of Bella and the man from the playground monitor. They checked security cameras but discovered that the school's outdoor cameras had been tampered with that morning. The work of someone who clearly knew what they were doing. I was frantic, pacing the school office, calling everyone I knew to help search. Detective Rodriguez arrived and took charge of the situation. We're putting out an Amber Alert, she told me, and we have officers checking all known addresses associated with Thompson's network. This is Barker, I said, my voice shaking with rage and fear. I know it is. He's been following us for days. We're looking for him, she assured me. His home, his workplace, everywhere he might go. Hours passed with no sign of Bella. It was getting dark, and my hope was fading. I couldn't stop thinking about all those folders on Thompson's phone, all those children he had victimized. The thought of Bella becoming one of those victims was unbearable. Then my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered immediately. Hello. My voice was desperate. Daddy, it was Bella. My knees nearly gave out with relief. Bella, where are you? Are you okay? I'm at the park, she said, her voice small and scared. The man said he was your friend, but he wasn't nice. Which park, sweetheart? Tell me exactly where you are. The one with the big blue slide, where we went last week. I knew exactly which park she meant. It was about 2 miles from the school. Stay where you are, Bella. I'm coming right now. Is the man still there? No, he left. He got a phone call and started yelling. Then he ran away. I relayed the information to Detective Rodriguez, who immediately dispatched officers to the park. I jumped in my car and drove there like a madman, with Rodriguez following close behind. When I arrived, I saw Bella sitting alone on a bench near the playground. I ran to her and scooped her up in my arms, holding her tighter than I ever had before. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? I asked, checking her for any injuries. I'm okay, she said. He just talked weird and kept taking pictures. Then he tried to get me to go to his car, but I remembered what you said about strangers. I hugged her again, tears streaming down my face. You did exactly the right thing, Bella. I'm so proud of you. Detective Rodriguez approached us, her face serious but relieved. We need to get you both somewhere safe. The man, Barker, is still out there. They took us to a hotel under police protection. Rodriguez interviewed Bella gently, getting a detailed description of Barker and what had happened. Bella explained that when the man tried to get her to his car, she ran away and hid in the park. She found a phone that someone had left on a bench and remembered my number. She's incredibly brave, Rodriguez told me after the interview, and smart too. Most kids wouldn't have thought to look for a phone or remember their parents' number. I nodded, still shaken by how close I'd come to losing her. What happens now? We have a full manhunt for Barker. His photo is all over the news. He won't get far. She paused. But there's something else you should know. When Bella mentioned he got a phone call and started yelling, we think that was when he found out Thompson had made a deal. A deal? What kind of deal? Thompson has agreed to provide information about his network in exchange for consideration during sentencing. He's giving us names, addresses, online accounts, everything. That's probably why Barker panicked and left Bella at the park. The next few days were a blur. We stayed in the hotel under police protection while the manhunt for Barker continued. I took time off work and Bella stayed out of school. We watched movies, played board games, and tried to pretend everything was normal. 3 days later, Rodriguez called with news. We got him. Barker was trying to flee the state, but state troopers caught him at a gas station off the highway. The relief was overwhelming. And the others? Thompson's network. We've arrested 5 more men based on Thompson's information. There are probably more out there, but we've dismantled the core group. Over the next few weeks, life slowly returned to normal. Bella went back to school, and I went back to work. We moved to a new apartment in a different neighborhood. I just couldn't feel safe in our old house anymore. Thompson's trial was scheduled for the following month. I would have to testify, but Bella wouldn't. They had enough evidence without putting her through that trauma. Barker and the others were facing multiple charges, from possession of child pornography to attempted kidnapping. One evening, as I was tucking Bella into bed in our new apartment, she looked up at me with those big brown eyes. Daddy, are the bad men gone now? I sat on the edge of her bed. Yes, sweetie, they're gone. And they can't hurt you or any other children anymore. She nodded thoughtfully. Good, because I like going to the park and the pool, and I don't want to be scared. You don't have to be scared, I promised her. And you know what? You're the bravest person I know. She smiled and snuggled deeper under her covers. Can we get ice cream tomorrow? I laughed, amazed at how resilient kids could be. Absolutely. As I turned off her light and closed her door, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. The nightmare was over. Thompson and his accomplices were facing justice. Bella was safe. I had kept my promise to protect her no matter what, and in the process, we had helped protect countless other children too. It wasn't the kind of victory you could celebrate. The whole situation was too grim for that. But it was a triumph nonetheless. I poured myself a small glass of whiskey and sat by the window of our new apartment, looking out at the quiet street below. For the first time in months, I didn't feel the need to check the locks twice or scan for suspicious cars.